Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. Well, I don't know. It is a crazy world that has changed in the last 2 weeks since the last episode, and I guess I should fill you in on how it went down in my little Hollywood world. I am working on the show at Fox, The Lot, American Crime Story, Impeachment of Bill Clinton. And let me just tell you, on a Monday, it took me 27 minutes to get to work, and on a Friday, it took me 12. And anyone who lives in LA should understand that's huge. The commute is huge, and so to take it down by half in a week is either schools are out or there's a pandemic. So here's kind of how it happened in our little world. There was some talk of the virus early in the week. And then Wednesday, the 11th, Tom Hanks came out and said that he had coronavirus. And a conversation between me and my lead man, Patrick Alvin, and I started as to, well, this might be something, because actors are not going to want to fly. This probably could affect our start date. And listen, my department was in full throttle of prep for this first episode, which was supposed to start shooting on Tuesday, March 23rd, this past Tuesday. And we're in crazy prep. I mean, we're buying furniture, we're having shit reupholstered, the timing of fabric to be available and tagging furniture, and me going through like the invoices of how I'm going to work out this massive show and the season rentals, and working with the prop houses every day of how this is going to go down. And then I gotta say, Thursday, the 12th, was, plugging away, and we start to hear of shows shutting down. And one that relates to our show very much was the film that's filming for Netflix, The Prom, which Ryan Murphy is directing, and they shut down with 2 days left to shoot. And that's kind of hard, because I alone have dealt with windstorms and earthquakes and rainstorms and flus hitting crews and just holidays and just everything you can think of. And the only thing ever that has delayed a day of shooting was once I was on Bones and David Boreanaz had the flu, and there weren't any more scenes in the episode to shoot that didn't involve him, and we took 1 day as an insurance day. And that's as much as I basically have ever pushed as far as an emergency. There was times on Veep where we did push because of rewriting and things like that, but never to the extent of anything of an sort of like an emergency. Anyway, by Friday, this is only 4 days that this has been going down. I had heard that the Paramount lot had shut down completely, and I have no idea if that's true, but I heard it. And everything was just happening really quickly. Our producers gave us a meeting around noon saying that our shoot date had been pushed by 4 weeks and that we should only work with a basic crew of what needs to go down, nothing to prep for 2 weeks, act as if it's 4. And so you take your crew down. So that was noon. By the end of the day, we were told to take everything home that we would need to work from home for the next week. Monday, the 16th, it was basically, we don't know what's happening, but continue as in the next day as working home. And that past week was just sort of a, we don't know. And every day in this country, it seemed to sort of get worse, as you know. And the thing was that in my little world, the prop houses were closing. Little by little, every day, we would get an email that, we're changing our hours. We're cutting down from, like, say, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 4, 12 to 3. We're shutting down. So there basically wasn't anything for me or my crew to go out and shop because everybody was closing down. And once that state mandate in California came down as to stay at home, it's responsible of them to shut it down. And I get it because, let's face it, all the shows have shut down. So why are you staying open? Just shut down. This is the reality of it. So by Friday, I got word from our producers that the show is down and, they're going to compensate us for 3 weeks, which I have to be super thankful because I have heard that not other shows were that generous. So I am thankful to FX, Disney, whoever you are, to me and my crew for giving us that. So that's how professionally this has gone down for me in the past 2 weeks. It's been super quick. It's nothing that I have ever seen. And I believe everyone staying at home is a good thing for us. It's making people see our work, and maybe you wouldn't have watched that one series that now you have time to watch, and streaming, and if you really take notice, Netflix stock has not gone down. There's something to be said about 1 million new subscribers to Disney Plus in the last week. So I'm confident that our industry will bounce back, and I am lucky for that. Anywho, this episode, I have, again, Ethan Goodwin, who is the buyer. And I hope you listened to the last episode. We got into a lot of what made him get into this position and how he transitioned from college to art set deck coordinator and then into buying. In this episode, we get into some of the projects that he has been involved in lately, For All Mankind and Veep, and just lately Perry Mason, and he goes back and forth from film to television, and it really is one of the best, and he has a lot of experience. He does a lot of period films, or projects, and he does some good work, and he gets very intricate into what he does. So, by the way, I must say, Ethan and I recorded this in early January. So if you hear me coughing, I don't have corona. It's the fact that I actually was getting over a cold in early January. So please fear me not. I am not sick. We are fine. It was early January when I recorded this, and yes, I was getting over a cold at that time. But nevertheless, I hope you enjoy. a lot of period projects on your resume. I think every time you've left me, it's for a period.
I love doing period shows.
I know, but then you get like halfway done or like almost done. You're like, ugh.
Well, here's the thing about period is that the excitement wears off after like 6 months. And you're like, can I please just go to Target and buy something?
Right.
Also,
like you've been on Perry Mason for like 9 months.
For 8 episodes.
Ugh.
And the problem we ran into is that every other show in town was suddenly doing the same period.
Yeah, that sucks.
And so it ends up being, you're just fighting for the same stuff. Because during prep, you actually have time to go, cast a wide net. Mm-hmm. And you can send trucks to Santa Barbara to pick up headboards. And you're buying so much on Craigslist and you're going to all the...
Craigslist is a great resource that we have.
We have to.
I have found so many great little like gems on Craigslist and like, how did that happen that I needed this and it was there type thing.
And Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And estate sales.
I'm bad at Facebook, but yeah. Mm-hmm. And yes,
we found stuff at estate sales. But you also have to go out of, you have to go further away to the antique malls that are, hours away to really score good deals. And you only have time to do that in prep because once you're in the middle of the episodes, you just can't, unless you can send somebody out to sort of replenish your stock.
Yeah.
But it becomes really tricky.
You have that time. You don't have that time once you start shooting.
Exactly. And we have so many sets, you're just turning over so many sets that you end up using. You feel like you've used all the artwork in town or all the good coffee tables in town. And, so you have to get creative. You either have to make stuff or reupholster stuff. And that all just takes time that you may not have.
No.
I mean, there was some times where we couldn't even get drapery made because, all the drapery shops in town were too busy. Or they just couldn't turn it over fast enough.
Here's a little history. So when there was a writer's strike in 2009 and everything shut down for like 8 months or 6 months or something, I don't remember. The ripple effect of that, I believe, that then prop houses shut down. Like not like that year or maybe the year after, but it had an effect. It had a long-term effect, that writer's strike. And prop houses like 20th Century Props or Disney, other places that have shut down, or prop houses had to condense things. I was just saying, I don't have the availability anymore. I don't have the option of getting like, hey, I need 50 chairs that are period, and it's there anymore. It's not there. We don't have that resource anymore. So like when you see these gigantic dining rooms full of the same chair, that was a lot. That was really hard to get. People don't get that the resources just aren't there anymore because keeping a prop house now is expensive. Square footage is expensive. And people have condensed and people have shut down, and that it's hard. It's harder than it used to be. And I think our business is also at fault because I just buy it. I just Amazon it. I just Etsy. I'm huge on Etsy. I love buying artwork on Etsy, like new, giving people opportunity to have their work seen. I love that. Craigslist, you just buy it now because I don't have the time and they don't have the quantity. So
well, anytime you're having to source, major quantity of anything is tricky, difficult. And if it's period, it's even worse. You really just have
Premier
to build
props.
it. Yeah.
And it's funny, well, not funny, but you know where to go. You know that there's probably only 3 prop houses in town that are really going to do your period.
Oh yeah, completely.
If you're doing a big restaurant, there's like 3 prop houses, maybe 2. If you're doing medical, you got like one choice, basically.
Exactly.
Like modern day medical, you're doing Alpha.
But you also find yourself then just standing, in a prop house and looking everything up. Like, oh, what year did this stapler come out? Or what year did this typewriter come out?
Right.
So it becomes very time consuming. I mean, the research involved initially with just the overall look is fascinating. But then when it comes down to specifics, it can be, you just have to stockpile that stuff. You have to know what year you're doing, and you have to start buying stuff.
I love that though. I love doing
immediately.
Research.
Yeah. On the most
and
fun
eBay.
set.
eBay is another. Yeah.
All the
eBaying
time.
It.
On For All Mankind, we started in 1969 and we finished the season in 1974. And props and set deck were in one office together, and it looked like the amount of eBay packages we got every day, just between everybody buying, it was like 50 packages a day. I'm not kidding. It looked like people would come into our office and laugh because in front of everybody's desk, it was just boxes. It was just constant Christmas.
Yeah.
And you would have to look at the set list coming up and just start buying stuff, Yeah. I did this little boys' room.
But that's also, just to jump in, that's also a great buyer that can look at a set list and be like, oh my God, we're gonna need staplers.
Yeah.
And because look, I care about the staplers, but I'm not thinking about staplers. So that's a great buyer that's gonna jump ahead and think of that. We're gonna need that. I gotta get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what kids' toys were popular in this year.
Right. Right.
And you just have to buy it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of research, and it's a lot of time. It's a lot more time spent online.
Yes. But even though I just did a modern day film, I had teenage girls' rooms, and I was like, okay, well, when they were 6, what was the popular Christmas toy that year? Mm-hmm. I'm putting that in their bedrooms. They would keep that, or they would have that Furby or whatever the fuck. I love to do the research and to dive into that. And I think that's what we get excited about.
Yeah, completely.
That's what keeps us coming back to these jobs.
Yes, exactly.
Is
because
the excitement
you're creating, a character.
Yeah.
But then you can also go down the rabbit hole, and it's shit. I've been looking for these same board games for 3 hours now? And then you go home.
Keeps calling.
You go home and you keep looking.
Yeah.
Because you realize, oh, wait, I really want to, you just become obsessed with finding.
Oh, yeah.
Also, finding the right thing, finding something that looks like it was new for the time, and that's also not.
It's so tricky during period.
Really expensive.
I don't know why you love doing it. It's so hard.
It is hard.
It's really hard.
But it's fun to immerse yourself in, that time period for a minute, and then you just got to get out and do something else.
But you went from doing the 60s to the 30s. You've been in period for a year, at least, right?
2 years.
Yeah. And now you're going to do period again.
90s.
Yeah. So Ethan and I met on the TV show Bones, and then he left me. And then, I
didn't leave you, Kim. We did 2 seasons of Bones together, and then we did 2 seasons of Parks and Recs together, and probably 3 pilots in between.
No. You left at the end of Parks when I needed someone. You up and left. You left before the show even ended that year.
That's
on
not
Parks.
true.
It is true. It is. But whatever. I digress. Then we worked together. We did Old Soul, which we loved. We loved to do that show.
That show should have been picked up.
Yeah. And then look that up. It was really cute. And none of those older actors have died, so that could have gone on all these years. They would have never.
They could still be working.
And then we did Brooklyn Nine-Nine pilot. We did Love. Was the next time we joined up. We did a season of Veep.
Yep.
And then.
And 1 season of Good Place.
And 1 season of Good Place. That's true. Which I gotta say, you were so bored.
Oh.
And I was not. I'm not gonna say. Well, I was bored.
I don't watch comedies.
No, it wasn't. It's a great show to be a part of because we had the freedoms to do wacky stuff, and we were really excited to be into that. I would say that.
Oh, the crew was amazing.
Yeah, the crew, and no, it was awesome. It wasn't what we were used to of doing 26 sets an episode. Yeah. It was 5, which we appreciated at the time. Mm-hmm. I had a wedding to plan. You had your family history, and then I did my family history. So we did that season, and now
upcoming, we're going to do the next American Crime Story, the trial, the impeachment of William Jefferson Clinton.
Yes.
Is the official name.
Yes.
So we're excited about
Very
that.
excited.
So we're going to go do period 90s White House again, which I'm super excited about. I am. I mean, I liked doing the White House type stuff, and I'm super excited to get to recreate Clinton's Oval.
Well, that's an amazing series.
Yes.
I'm happy to be attached to that.
I love the OJ. I love the Versace. I really love the OJ one.
Yeah.
It's so good. But yes. Do you prefer TV or film when you work? Does it matter?
I have no preference.
You don't. Do you prefer?
I would rather do
network or
I can't.
cable/streaming. Does that matter to you?
I would rather do streaming than network.
Yeah. Well, so would I. You have a freedom.
I think everybody would now.
Well, number one, you get paid more.
Yeah.
Number two,
and you generally have a higher budget.
Yes.
And
your clearance freedom.
Yeah.
Is huge, I think.
Yeah. I would rather do a worthwhile TV show than a shitty movie.
Yeah.
So I have and people always say, oh, well, you have more prep in features. That's honestly not true. I've been on features where we have months of prep and then everything changes a million times over and you end up getting all the real information
a week
before
when you scout.
So it becomes a TV show.
No, I have only done 2 films, but in that experience, it's exactly the same.
It's the same. It really is.
Yeah. I think those days are long
sets.
Gone. We're not doing The Godfather anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? So do you want to decorate?
No.
No!
I'm happy to be the support.
You're an awesome support system, I must say. So I appreciate that.
If I had to deal with what you have to deal with, if I had to get calls from the producers or, figure out the budgets before I've even scouted locations, I think I would lose my mind. Plus, I just like being with the vendors. I like dealing with them.
Yeah. We have some great vendors.
Amazing.
Who really hustle and really know that we have a fire. Please help us put it out.
Yeah.
And they understand that.
The vendors are the constant. As much as our jobs change, the vendors are always there for us.
It's true.
I mean, you sometimes see the vendors more than you see your own crew. Because you're just always out there with them. More
especially for you.
Yeah, completely.
I don't get to go out as much as I used to.
No.
I like
Most
people...
decorators don't, which is sad.
No. I feel like people... When I walk into a prop house, people think I'm a buyer, which is fine. And
I like to tell them that you're the intern. That you're still learning. This is There
Kim. Was some girl in here tagging for your show.
This is Kim, our set deck PA. She's
Ethan
training.
tells them I'm a PA. And then someone at some prop house said that to me. Oh, Ethan told us you were his new PA or something. I was like,
because I say it with a completely straight face.
Yes, you do. Ethan also has a fantastic amount of impersonations. He does.
You're cutting this out.
I'm not going to say who. I'm just saying that you have a talent to do impersonations that everybody loves.
This is not airing in this.
Okay. All right, I'm cutting it out. What would be your dream project?
Oh, that's a tough one.
For me, just let you think for a second. My dream project is like a Star Wars.
I don't like that. I'm glad that franchise is over. Did you see
the
last one?
Don't say that. I don't want it to be over. I didn't see the last one yet.
It's miserable.
It's not over. It can't be over.
Well, I will not be doing that with you.
Okay. But I also say that in a sense of I wish I could have done Star Wars and not Skywalker's Last Hurrah or whatever this is called. I'm talking about something that was so creative and so ahead of it, not even ahead of its time, but so creative in making a world that is so iconic through generations. That's what I'm talking about. That would be my ideal. And I think something that's space oriented in that world, but making it making it a vernacular of like, oh, they have dusty clothes,
right?
But it's still space.
Yeah.
I still think that that's genius, and I would want to be a part of a project like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I want to do the next Star Wars. Obviously, I'm not going to get it.
Yeah. I mean, for me at this point, it's just about working with good people on a good project. And that project could be anything, really. I mean, it just depends. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I start out most projects feeling hopeful and excited.
Yeah.
Sometimes that goes to shit really fast. But
this is our office.
you just have to work with good people, though. You know?
Yes. No.
I mean, the job of our
I have taken
department,
many a job because of the environment and not the show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because that's what is ultimately going to get you through your day without you feeling like you're going to kill yourself. You have to have the support of your department, and you're just all in it together.
Because I think there is a thin line of the urgency of such ridiculous things that we deal with and the pressure, like you were saying, like I needed to get chairs there. It's shooting in an hour.
It's ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous amount of pressure that we have because, like I've said, that train has left the station. It's chugging.
Yeah.
And it's not stopping. So
we have all had days where we have pounded the steering wheel.
Yeah.
We have pulled over and cried.
Cried.
You just think what they're asking of me is so ridiculous.
I can't believe I'm going to do it.
If the average person can think how long it takes them to pick out stuff for their own house, you're not going to go buy everything in one day. And a lot of the time we have to shop in entire sets in one day. Not only shop them, but you have to show the pictures to the decorator, call the prop houses, confirm them, pay for everything if you're buying it, and then it all has to get picked up. I mean, it really is like...
It's incredible.
And you have to really think about what
we can get done.
You're putting in there, too.
Yeah, yes, it makes sense.
It's not just sending a truck to a store and grabbing a living room set.
No, and it's not just one prop house. You could go to one prop house and find one sofa and one rug, and then you go to another prop house and find the 2 chairs and the 4 lamps, and then you're going to go to another prop house and do the smalls, and then you got to go buy the drapery. It's a puzzle.
It is a puzzle.
I've had many people say to me, I don't know how you can put it all together in your mind. And I said, I don't know how any of us do it.
Well, and the lead man can't stand it when you hand them that many pickup envelopes. But you have to say, too, it's like, I'm not sending the truck for one candlestick here. The reason is,
Yeah. And it's a valid point.
Yeah.
The manpower and the time that it takes to go pick up that one candlestick, even though it was the perfect candlestick, a lot of times I feel I'm the type of decorator who will let it go. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that there are more than 50% of decorators who would let that go. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of trucks go to pick up one candlestick, and you know what? They're better decorators. I think about it all the time. I think like, hey, I'm going to do all of the set out of Advanced Liquidators. I don't care. My truck's going to one place. We're done. Mm-hmm. I don't have time to do this.
Yeah.
It shoots first stop. I got to do this. Yeah. And guess what? I'm picking everything out online. That prop house is like, I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. And I don't know. A lot of decorators aren't. A lot of decorators got to go sit in the chair and feel the throw blankets. And they're right. They're right in doing that. Mm-hmm. And...
Well, you can only do what time allows, you know.
I always feel like I'm a less of a decorator because I'll be okay with making other things work than what I really sometimes really wanted. I don't know. It's time.
Well, and then we never know how they're going to shoot it either.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, you can dress an entire room and then it's like two talking heads in a doorway.
Yeah. It's 2 lollipop heads and a plant in the back that you threw in at the last second.
Oh yeah, there have been plenty of times where I've shopped things that were requested by the by the director and still didn't make it into the final cut.
How was Homecoming? Did you like that? I mean, I know that you liked working on that show, but I mean...
Yeah. I liked the podcast, and then so I was excited to do the show, and then I was really happy with the end result.
It's a great looking show, and it's lit great, really. I think it stood out for me of how they lit those sets and how
lighting was a huge...
The dramatic lighting in that show.
Lighting was huge on that show. I have never dealt so much with the lighting department. And we actually had a guy that was, Damon, that was like a fixtures coordinator. So I actually, a lot of stuff that I bought, I had to run through him. Oh. And oddly on that show, it was, we...
Like a gaffer? Like a...
He was sort of like the fixtures...
Rigging electric?
No, they don't have that position on a lot of shows.
Oh, wow.
But he sort of, I would run everything by him, or he would figure out how to, take it apart to make it work. Because some of the lighting we bought was LED, which on some shows you're not allowed to do. And some of it was...
Yeah, some you can't. Although now... It was a thing like 2 years ago. I feel like now you can do whatever you want.
Depends on the department.
Oh, I guess I've been lucky. I feel like 2 years ago, everyone's like, every lamp you get, we can't use. And now it's like, no one checks anything. And I'm like, was that LED? Was that bulb? Like, they were like, we don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's, and that's a thing of how cameras change and the lighting fixtures change, and we deal with that a lot.
Yeah. I remember on that show, we weren't allowed to use the color blue, and it took place in Florida. So that was actually really tricky. And on Gone Girl, we couldn't use the color red. Or we couldn't use most colors. Everything was beige.
Hey, did you work with David Smith on Gone Girl?
Yeah.
Oh, so you were his buyer on Gone Girl.
I met David Smith on Gone Girl, I think.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Did you go there with him? Didn't he go to Missouri?
He went to Missouri. No, I didn't go to Missouri.
You shopped it here.
Mm-hmm. And then David came back from Missouri and worked with us while we did the whole house. Mm. Yeah.
But you work a lot with Doug Moat, who you did
3 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have repeat decorators.
Uh-huh. I coordinated for Doug on Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift for a little while. And then, shop for him on Gone Girl and then on Homecoming.
Gone Girl was beautiful, too. I mean, it's shot beautifully, and the lighting's beautiful on that, too.
We had a lot of shopping restrictions on that show. Just color palette wise, and then just the shape of things, like
a lot of pears.
Everything had to be low and boxy. I remember that. The
so is that a note
chairs
from
and
Fincher?
Sofas had to have wide arms.
Is that a note from the designer or from Fincher? Like, where does that come from?
It was a Fincher thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and David and I have talked about this off the podcast, but just how I feel. You watch sometimes a David Fincher show, and it removes me. The shot is so symmetrical, especially on like a House of Cards or something. It removes me from the scene.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm paying attention to that, but that you're making it so obvious that you've made me think it's not real.
Yeah.
That it's not reality. It's a setup.
Yeah.
I mean, I love House of Cards, White House. I love how they did that and the lighting, and I love it. But it did take me out of it a lot of the symmetrical set of it, and the same in Gone Girl.
Yeah. We had to do a lot of recovering. I mean, I remember we bought this pair of like green chartreuse chairs from like CB2 because they were the right shape. And then we recovered them in something beige. Because it was just beige.
But then we made it ugly.
Yeah. I mean, we did the same thing, with stores here in town. We bought stuff and then we recovered it.
Can I ask you about the Happy Time Murders?
Ugh.
Come on, it had to be fun working with puppets.
Well, that's one of those jobs that you
got the call for it and you were like, this is gonna be awesome. I'm working with puppets.
I had heard about that job had been floating around that movie for like years.
Yes.
And I had heard about it about 5 years before. So
I almost watched it the other night.
It's unwatchable.
I was gonna watch it just so I would talk about it with you, but I have not watched it, so I don't know. But It didn't good.
It's just too bad.
It didn't do well, but I love dark humor. I think I would probably really like it. I just haven't had an opportunity.
That's just one of those projects that and we've all done it. You just take a chance. You think, this is interesting.
Oh yeah.
It's Melissa McCarthy,
and
Maya Rudolph,
dirty puppets,
Elizabeth Banks, and puppets. It was a rated
R. Did she direct it?
Puppet movie. No, it was Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son.
What?
Yeah, so you think, how could this go wrong? And it just went...
so wrong.
Making
it was like the worst movie of the year or something. It's a sin.
It wasn't good. It was not good.
What do you think, let's, as a critic of
the process of making it was interesting. I mean, I've never done anything like it.
So what you talk about, like how furniture and scale and everything that you had to shop.
Well, we had to buy everything.
Wow.
You just have to buy it all because the sets are built 4 feet above the ground to accommodate the puppeteers, and then all of the sets have removable floors. So, which takes a while to get used to. I remember our first day, one of the wardrobe gals came running up the stairs and fell right through the floor and broke her leg. And it happened constantly.
Well, didn't Melissa McCarthy fall?
Well, people were tripping, because once they start shooting, or you dress the set, and then they have to move the floors. And so you have to push everything to the side. And sometimes there was only, it felt like, 6 inches of...
I can't really imagine this. I don't know what you mean. You had to remove the floors. I don't know what you mean.
The floors on every single set, which are 4 feet above the ground, are removable. Because the puppeteers have to...
I'm thinking of Sesame Street.
The puppeteers have to stand there under the puppets and move the puppets around the space. So,
But how do you have a floor when a human is this tall? Like, how does that work? What do you mean? Is the human up on the platform, or are they on
They're on the ground.
They're on the ground.
Under the puppets. And the puppet has to be free to move around the space. So, it's shot...
can't even...
It's shot from the puppet's perspective. And then there are higher angles where you see the floor. It was a very weird process.
Well, I know I talked to Don Deers once, and he was telling me about the Muppets. They redid the Muppets with Denise Pizzini, and about how he had to buy all the furniture. And he talked about flooring, and he talked about the challenge of the scale of everything and making it like puppet scale. And I was like, that's awesome.
We didn't have to make stuff puppet scale. I mean, the whole idea of Happy Time Murders was that the puppets were sort of in, they're habitating in regular world. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you do have to cut a hole in everything you buy for the puppeteer to be able to rig. So, every chair, and sometimes they wanted multiples, and it's just, it's tricky.
How long was that shoot? Did it take longer than a regular movie or no? No.
I don't think so. I don't think it took longer. But everything was built for the most part. I mean, we had a couple locations, but not a lot.
That's what you left me for. Secret in Their Eyes. That's what now I'm looking at your resume. You left
plot.
Parks to do Secret in Your Eyes. I had to get that out there. That's what he left me for. Happy Time Murders. You know what's running right now is For All Mankind. Did you have a good time on that?
I loved that.
Yeah.
Because
it was period.
It was period. It was a great crew, and it was, it was exciting. They put a lot of money into it, and we got to build a lot of really cool sets.
Do you think we're slaves to them putting money into it at this point, though?
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Well, when you're on a show and you're like, and they want to build everything on that crew wanted to build everything on stage. It was if we had a swing set and there was another inch of available space on a sound stage, they would build it.
So, did you have to source the spaceship type stuff, or was that the art director? We had
another buyer, John Bradley, who was amazing. I don't know how he did it. He shopped all the spacecraft stuff, and he worked with he worked with one of our art directors who was also specifically assigned to the spacecraft.
For spacecrafts, yeah.
And who was also genius, and the two of them together.
Who was it? I'd like to know the name of a genius art director. Besides Adam Rao. Do you want me to look it up?
No.
I can look it up. That's right here.
We had a lot of crew on that. Kim, it's been a long time since that show already.
It was like 6 months ago, bro.
I know, but I can't remember.
You're nuts. Wait, full cast.
His name was Eric. But they figured out what they needed for that spacecraft, and they would, for all of the space stuff, all of the moon stuff.
Eric Osuski?
Yeah.
Osuski?
Yep.
Eric Osuski is the art director that did the spaceships.
Mm-hmm.
I always say Diana's. I always say Diana's last name was Freeze.
Freeze.
Yeah. Okay. Diana Freeze.
I mean, I texted John when I was watching the episodes and the ones that were really heavy in space, and I just said, I can't. They look amazing. They look amazing. I don't know how.
I haven't seen it. I have this Apple membership free thing that I'm like saving up to use because I want to get all of the morning show, and I think they're only releasing week by week. Was I right about that?
Yeah, they released the first 3 episodes, and then they released it every week,
it all?
one a week.
Oh, okay.
Well, so now you can watch it all.
Okay, so that's what I want. I want to watch it all.
But they're long. I mean, I don't know that you can binge watch it. Some episodes, I think that show gets better as it progresses. And there were certainly some episodes I liked a lot better than others.
I love Steve Carell. I feel like I'll watch him do anything.
Oh, I'm talking about For All Mankind.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't watch the morning show.
For All Mankind. No, I want to binge that too.
Well, it's hard to binge, but
it's hard to binge because they're more than an hour long. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, and I mean, and it's there's some episodes are really heavy. I mean, you have to sort of like think about it after. I don't know. I do. I don't binge shows like you do, though.
Well, I have to binge while I have time.
Oh, well.
I got to get it in. It's t-shirt time, bro. I got to get it in. So let's talk about The Newsroom, because I love that show. Mm-hmm. I was a huge fan of that show, and I'm jealous that you got to work on it, actually.
I loved doing that.
Yeah. It's such a good show all around. And I know that a lot of it was just in that newsroom.
Yep.
But really, they went out a lot. They had a lot of extra sets at Jane Fonda. They were out on that balcony. Like, the little things pop in my head, the apartments and...
Yeah. Well, when we did the pilot, and it was a long pilot, it was like, I don't know, 4 months. But
for the pilot?
Yeah, but we knew that it had already been picked up. So we were doing the perm sets.
What was HBO? Wasn't it just picked up for 12 or something?
It was picked up, but they weren't shooting the whole, they weren't going to shoot the whole first season. And when we were working on it, it was actually called More as the Story Develops.
Oh.
So that was our running title, and I, until it actually aired, I didn't know it was going to be called The Newsroom. But, so we set that whole thing up. The whole newsroom up.
But I feel like they shot every inch of that, and every single cubicle was interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It was a 2-floor set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was glass, and you saw into every other room. There was no hiding any other sets. It was all there.
Yeah. Well, the big thing about
who designed that?
That was Richard Hoover and Sandy Struth decorated.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you worked with Sandy again on Criminal Minds.
I've worked with Sandy a bunch.
Yeah.
I've worked with Sandy on Life originally, and we did the Sons of Anarchy pilot.
Yeah, she's a fantastic decorator for depth of depth of the sets.
Yeah.
I feel like she's really good at that.
She is. And great at layering and...
Yes.
And just finding the really interesting, odd pieces, too. But the newsroom, they had designed... Somewhere we got a drawing of those desks that they wanted to use. They wanted to...
all of the little,
cubicle
desks. Yeah.
right? So
you didn't rent them from Mark in advance?
Well, he ended up being very involved in that.
Oh, he should, yeah.
So
He's the only game in town, basically.
But that was the main thing. That was going to make that set, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So we had a drawing of it or something. And I remember we started looking, and for like 2 weeks we were looking for those freaking desks. And construction, was convinced they were going to have to build them. And we kept looking and looking, and I remember one day I came across this image on this website of what it looked like they were describing. It was a pod, and I called this...
Was it the same thing we used on Love?
We did use them on Love. But they were the ones that we had made for the newsroom.
Oh my God.
It was... So I found this image on Crest Office Furniture website, right? Which I hadn't shopped from a lot.
I love Crest.
And I called them, and the salesman was such a dick, and he said, "Oh, you're not gonna." I explained what I was doing. I said, "We have this limited time frame. Oh, you'll never get them. You can't. It's a company. They're in Canada. It takes months." And that was kind of it. I called Mark at Advanced Liquidators, and I said, "Mark, you have to help me. There's this company, Playco, Taco. I don't know. They're in Canada. I'm told it can't be done." And Mark said, "Oh, well, actually, the sales rep, Joanna, from Taco is actually in town, and she's leaving tomorrow." He goes,
"Oh my God!"
He goes, "So why don't I set up a meeting?" I said, "I need to talk to her tomorrow before she goes."
At Mastro's ASAP.
Yeah. So I literally the next day ran up to Advanced Liquidators. I met with this woman, Joanna. She had all of her samples with her of laminates.
Gosh.
And for the partitions that were on those desks. She had different sort of glass that you could choose.
Frosting and yeah.
And she said she could make it happen. So I ran back to the office with the samples. We picked stuff right away, emailed her our options, and then it was like, a month of just no sleep waiting for that order.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was 9 or 10 desks that they custom made for us, to our specifications, and then shipped them from Canada. And it was just a wait.
Isn't that crazy that worked out?
It is crazy that it worked out. But that's just one of those incidences where, the vendors come through in such a major way.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And there was a big contract, we had to keep going back and forth because Mark wanted to keep the desks once the show was over, which was great because we ended up using them on another show, But
that's the thing too, which is great for our industry, is that, like I said, was that the desk we use on Love? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, the vendors are smart, and they're like, oh my gosh, if one show really, really wants this, I bet another show will too. And then one of the deals that they will make is I'll buy it, and you rent it for me, and then I have it at the end. It's very smart. Yeah. It's very smart to do, because then we all get to enjoy those desks. Yeah. And then when we use them on Love in the radio station, by the way, every time we went to that radio station, Advanced Liquidators had to come and install those desks.
Yeah.
Because
those desks are really tricky.
They're really tricky, and it wasn't worth the time of our set dressers to put into putting those desks together, because it's like a 3-desk pod type thing. And it was intricate and a lot of probably Allen keys involved.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Even on the newsroom, there was a box of parts that went missing, and we had to reorder them. But yeah, it all gets done. But, it was down to the wire. We got those desks at the last minute. And I remember we were finishing that set. We had to work over the weekend to finish it and just to personalize all the spaces.
Yeah.
And, but I remember sitting there with Sandy and the crew once we were done at the end of like a Saturday, and we had worked our asses off, and we were just so, proud of the way the set looked. You sit
back and you look at your set and you're so proud.
And you have so much hope for the project, and that's why I don't love every pilot, but I do like doing first season shows because you really are setting up the look.
Yes.
And
I don't really care about the pilot. I care about the first season.
Yeah.
I've learned that the pilot you get to establish some sort of look, but not really. A lot of times it's the second episode that really carries it through.
Yeah.
And
once it's picked up, they want to change things.
Yeah,
if they didn't shoot it right the first time, but
But there's definitely, which I've shared with you, the moments of looking at a set and being like, good job, Kimbers. Good job, Evers. Like, it's a job well done. And if no one else is saying it, we're saying it to each other and we mean it.
Yeah.
We know each other. We know how hard each of us works. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes those are the best moments, and not actually when it airs. Mm-hmm. Because when it airs, it's only for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It's 3 seconds for a wide.
We have to take our pictures and we have to stand in the set for ourselves, because some people, you'll never notice the details that we notice, and you may never even see them.
But that's great.
Yeah. But when you're moving so fast and doing things and trying to pull it all together so quickly, when it does come together and you're finally done, it does make it all worthwhile.
Absolutely.
Because we work really long hours.
Yeah. And you're really good at it. You're a really good buyer. You're really good into details. You care. You stress.
Well, thank you.
You won't just take no for an answer. And you're absolutely an amazing friend, and I always cherish working with you.
Well, thank you. And
I'm so glad that I get to work with you again.
I'm very happy.
Don't leave me again.
I'm not going to leave.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kim.
For giving me an hour and a half of your life.
Of course.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you heard him, right? He said he's not going to leave me. I have that on tape. I am going to hold him to it. The weird thing is, I have no idea right now when we are going to start back up, or if this project is even going to come through, because in my mind, actors book up, and I have no idea. Like, say Clive Owen's got something else after this and he can't fit in American Crime Story now. Like, where does that leave this show? And I am sure many other shows are in this position of actor availability, and I don't know. So I don't know what we're going back to. I have no idea how long we will be down for this sort of stay at home. We're in week 2, and it could go so far as 12, which, look, that's a lot. But whatever has to be done has to be done. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a license to be a couch potato, and I like it. I'm okay with taking 12 weeks of my life and playing with my kids and watching TV. But I'm a dork, a TV dork, and it's like heaven to me. Other people, probably torture. But I like it, which is why I have started not only blogging more, I started blogging the A to Z of Oscar-nominated films that were nominated for production design. Right now I'm on letter E. So far I have done All the President's Men, Batman, Color Purple, and Dark Knight. E, not gonna lie, I did Empire Strikes Back, because I could have done Empire of the Sun, but I've seen that a million times and we all know how great that looks. But if you really look in depth of Empire Strikes Back, there's a lot to get into there. I never realized, looking at it the first dozen times I've watched it, but as of now, like, all the walls are made of snow. Like, how do you design that? It's crazy. So I'm working my way through that. These are nominated and winning films from 1960 through present day. I have also started a bracket. Since we don't get any March Madness this year, I started the bracket of first, the past 10 years, best production design, some nominated winning films, and that went down, and The Great Gatsby won. It all came down to Great Gatsby. I mean, I voted for it. I didn't think it was going to win. And now we're in the bracket of the 2000s, which I think the top 4 I should look up right now. I believe it's like Harry Potter versus Avatar. I mean, this is hard. I had one person, Adam Rao, text me and say, how do I get Amelie back in the running? I get you, bro. I get it. I can't believe it didn't make it to the second round, but more people should have voted. So if you're out there, vote. I've been blogging and tweeting and Instagramming the links for you to vote. So I hope you get a chance to do that because it's fun. So I've got basically 4 more weeks of that, because next week will be the 90s and then the 80s and the 70s, 60s, and then we're going to do a runoff of the top, 6 films of whatever won each decade and what will be the best production design film voted. I think that's kind of exciting. I think I came up with something a little exciting here. And I'm really excited to see what people are voting for. I like it. So thank you for voting. So again, I'm tweeting, Instagramming. It's on the Facebook page. You can just link to that and vote every single day. It's out there each round. So if you're bored, get to it. Did I talk about how great Ethan was? He was. So thankful for Ethan for doing this for me and getting into specific projects that he's done, the period pieces and where he likes to shop. And I'm so glad we get to talk about some of the prop houses that we use, because our vendors are everything to us. Our little world, people need to jump now. It's not next week. I can't get that sofa in 8 weeks. That's a joke. I need it in like 3 days, and I need it like custom. And these vendors help us get things done. I can't express that enough. We're all going through this, and I hope everyone is okay. I hope everyone is healthy, and I hope everyone is safe. So I hope you got an earful. How about that? Take care. I'm your host, Kim, for Decorating Pages. Decorating Pages is sponsored by Stogie Floaty. Float 'em if you got 'em. Purchase now at stogiefloaty.com.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. After completing the renovation, follow up with the customer to ensure their satisfaction and address any remaining concerns. Provide maintenance tips and guidance to help them preserve the results of the renovation for years to come. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.